Okay, so I'm not sure how well my service is going to be on this one, and so I'm going to apologize in advance. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with being somebody who would be take a breather or walking away or isolating myself if a situation gets way too emotional or I can feel. And I guess I'm not sure how much of this you heard, but I'm gonna try this again about what it's like for me and my personal experience of being somebody to be considered an empath. And it can be very draining and stressful for me sometimes because of the fact that a person will say one thing and I'll immediately attach to that from them. So often it'll be a situation in which somebody will say something to me and I can legitimately look at their facial expressions, hear what they're saying, get this vibe from them. And this is me just putting it out there as simply as I can. Legitimately, I will take upon myself like a sympathetic version of whatever it is that they're feeling. So if they're angry, I can feel that anger coming off of them, and then I'm listening to whatever it is they're saying, and so I might feel somewhat angry about whatever it is that they're talking about, or they'll feel sad and I can feel their sadness and I'll be moved to feel sad too. And I'm openly talking about this because I've come across so many other people who share the same type of traits, or they talk about the same type of issues, in the sense that they also have to go off by themselves and detoxify, so to speak, from all of the emotions. And in my case, I just wanted to say, for those people who might not have known this about me, that my friend and those who follow me, that a lot of times that I end up taking a little time away to myself is not because I'm not interested in my friendships or my friends, or what's the word for that? My friends or my YouTube followers or my subscribers on Facebook. But sometimes I just really need to just emotionally, mentally, physically take a break, because it's emotionally, mentally, physically take a break, because it'll become toxic for me to constantly take on these emotions or feelings or even verbal problems that people bring my way, and it becomes a little bit stressful for me to constantly be in situations like that. So one of the things I wanted to bring up that actually I would like a little bit of feedback, if you are also an empath, if you've ever experienced something like this, you know for a fact that it's not you. You can tell the feelings and emotions are really from whoever's talking to you, or whatever the circumstances are behind what this other person is saying. And even though you catch yourself and you guard yourself, what are the techniques that you use in that circumstance? Because sometimes as a person who can legitimately feel the energy coming off of somebody else, or the energy inside of a room, I often spend a lot of time trying to build up boundaries, because I don't want to take on what I would like to call emotional baggage from someone else that's going to cause me to be sick. And I mean that. It'll start draining me. I'll start feeling sick. I'll start feeling like I need to fight or flight, because some people really don't have a limit on how much they'll dump off onto you based on your reaction. And that's something that I've noticed that in my life through previous relationships, and some of the things that I've noticed that those people would do because they kind of knew what buttons to push, that I feel as though being an empath just pushed that to a whole nother level of damage when I would take on those type of arguments, those type of fights, those type of issues. So now that I'm older and I've had time to reflect on that, I try to avoid those situations as well as I can. The thing that's actually got me wanting to really talk about this is I've noticed that there are a bunch of people who don't necessarily identify as being an empath, but they have a lot of the traits. So it's interesting to me how a person can understand they have emotional intelligence. They can see, they can tell, they can pretty much distinguish what's going on with someone else. Yet, if in a circumstance for which they know they're causing someone distress, there's a part of me that wants to know, as an empath, what are some of the ways that you use to protect yourself in that situation? Do you just take I'm going to tell this person respectfully, I don't want to, you take moments in which you just flat out tell someone, hey, this is overloading me? Or do you take a whole other different approach and you just directly tell the person how they're making you feel to try to alleviate some of that stress? And so I'll go in with myself. A lot of times, unless it gets to an extreme, I will try to protect myself mentally from whatever it is that the person is saying. I'll constantly say to myself, this is about them, this isn't about you. And just because you care about them doesn't mean you need to take that on your back. And there's so many situations in which I wish I had somebody who told me that before. So if you are someone who deals with these types of things and you're sounding somewhat similar to me, maybe this will work for you as well. Take time out your day, every day, at least 30 minutes, so that you can be by yourself and collect your own thoughts and your own emotions. That way you can distinguish and separate out what is actually how you feel versus the things that may have come along and attached itself to you. Another thing I figured I would actually mention, now that I'm on this topic about emotions, myself, and things like that, I have been working very hard to be more mindful of my reaction, my visual outward reaction, because I've noticed around the wrong people, if they can see that they're causing you some form of distress, they will continue because they're feeding off of it. Most of the time I try to stay away and avoid people like that because it's very draining and it's not healthy for me. I find those to be very toxic relationships. So I'm also curious, have you ever experienced a situation like that, and what did you do with the person? Have you ever experienced a situation like that, and how did you handle it? Because for me personally, unless it's someone that's very close to me, it usually doesn't get to the point that I'm in a crazy amount of distress in which I have to vent or straight leave. But most of the time, if it's a stranger in passing, it might distress me a little bit, but I always tell myself, I don't know what this person is going through. Maybe they're hurting so bad it's bleeding off of them and they don't really intend to do this. But the thing that usually ends up with me sometimes wanting to work on shielding myself even more than what I already am against the, what's the word for it? The energy vampire, so to speak, that person that you know is walking in the room looking to try to drain you. Because I notice empaths seem to be targets for people like that. And honestly, not to be supernatural here, but this is from my personal experience. You can tell when someone is trying to do that to you, regardless of how emotionally intelligent you are. It'll become very apparent that you have somebody that's an emotional vampire in your life, because they will come and you could be in the best mood possible, but the minute that they step in the room, you'll feel as though you're drained. The topic that they use, certain things they try to say to you, information that they'll try to gain from you while you have your guard down, they will use against you later on. And honestly, it's a situation in which it's close to being a narcissist or a sociopath or someone who clearly is capable of tearing someone else down to make themselves feel better. And those people are the people that I don't think that some of them are aware of it, but I think a good amount of them are. And if you are someone who is empathic, sympathetic, you're a kind-hearted person, that is one of those people that you're going to have to learn to protect yourself against. Because I can tell you from personal experience, it is not a good feeling to get used or manipulated, or know for a fact that someone's trying to use or manipulate you, who is someone who's supposed to be safe to be around. And personally, one of the things that is very important to me, considering I just identify myself as being someone who is an empath, is being safe, having people that I can be around and not have to have a shield up or guard up all the time, because I don't have to worry about them trying to poke at me or try to hurt me in some way. And you would think that where wouldn't want to be disrespected or hurt or yelled at or fussed at or any of this other stuff. But that's not always the case with some people. And one thing I will admit to, and this is something that actually I've been trying to work on, is the feeling of being backed into the corner to a point in which you have no choice but to feel as though you either have to fight or flight. And as someone who's an empath, it is one of the most distressing feelings for me, because I've already experienced other traumas in my life, to actually be put into that state, because it feels as though I'm put into a survival mode that I should not be getting put into by somebody who is close to me. The thing that I want to leave you with in this video is, if you are someone who sounds similar to what I have going on with me, you're highly emotionally aware, you feel things, you can tell when somebody's going through something, you just somehow know, you can somehow just feel, you have a ability to just in your own way naturally understand and feel someone else's pain. I would suggest to you to go look up and research empaths, because it would give you another window or another way of looking at yourself in a way you might not have thought about looking into. So honestly, there's a part of me right now that I am going back to school, and as part of that, I've made a list of things that I wanted to do for myself mentally. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to focus on being honest about who it is that I am as a person, what it is that I want to do with my life. And that question that you've probably heard a lot of times from me from past videos: are you living your life, or do you just exist? Are you actually fulfilling your own life's purpose? Are you doing what it is that you want to do with your life? And I will leave you with that. I hope everybody's doing good, staying blessed and feeling well, and I will see you all next time. Bye.